Here is your Africa True Story, Africa-wide. The dark side of international adoption and why some African countries banned it. The adoption of children from developing nations, including Africa, by rich foreigners has been happening for decades. Adopting a child from their home country to a foreign one is a complicated and controversial practice. If done correctly, you have saved a parentless child from a life of loneliness and insecurity. But if done incorrectly, you have either aided organizations who coerce parents into giving their children up or even facilitated child abuse if the individual institution is unethically managed. Even if the adoption is conducted using appropriate channels and oversight, the adopting families are not always well-intentioned. International adoption peaked in 2004 and has been declining ever since, in part because of increasing restrictions fueled by incidences of violence. The problem that surrounds international adoption are complex and deeply intertwined with a variety of factors including race, gender, religion, culture, sexuality, and global inequality together form the sticky problematic web of international adoption. White people, often Americans, tend to view developing regions, but more specifically Africa, as a backdrop for white fantasies of conquest and heroism. Families sometimes adopt international children with perverse motivations of pity and appalls. Children are stripped of their culture and forced to adapt to Western norms overnight and face dire consequences when they cannot conform. Individuals have relayed being severely disciplined for hesitating to eat unfamiliar foods, not adapting to American norms for eye contact quickly enough, and for speaking their own languages. This is a direct violation of the human rights to culture. Internationally, adopted children have the right to fully experience their birth culture for the sake of human dignity and the preservation of the child's identity. The majority of African adoptees from the last 20 years have mostly come from Ethiopia and Malawi, and American celebrities including Madonna and Angelina Jolie have been known to prefer these countries when it came to adoption of their children. Ethiopia has banned international adoption in the effort to safeguard children from potential abuse. The East African country is one of the biggest sources for adoption to the US since 1999. More than 15,000 Ethiopian children have been adopted in the country. In 2013, an American couple were jailed for the death of their adopted teenage daughter from Ethiopia. The couple were also found guilty of abusing their younger son, also from Ethiopia. The case sparked outcry and debate in the country, with authorities reducing foreign adoption that year by 90%. Abuse and death in inter-country adoptive families are common. Numerous appalling incidences involving the misfortune of adopted children have circulated in the media in the past few years. International adoption is a tricky subject. Exploitation can occur on a number of levels, as the adoption process includes a variety of actors. The adopting families, the adopting agency, and the source of institution can all be separately complicit in unethical behavior. To amplify corruption, there is little to no legislation to identify or prosecute exploitation on any level. Sending countries or the countries which children are most frequently adopted from have had to become increasingly strict on foreign adoption policies. This is one of the most critical issues. The sending countries, who are most often relatively disadvantaged compared to the receiving countries, carry the burden to make major policy reform in order to protect their children from exploitation. International policy on inter-country adoption is scarce, vague, and often unenforced. While the international adoption system contains many flaws, the most identifiable fundamental issue is lack of oversight and policy. Adoptions are most often conducted through private, individual agencies who each have different standards of what the adoption process should look like. These private agencies operate without much restrictions placed on their activities. It seems unacceptable to permit adoption to occur through an uncredited agency, yet that is the current norm. Lack of accreditation creates a wider pathway for unethical behavior. The market for adopting children is huge and incredibly lucrative, as it is full of wealthy potential adoptive families. The desperation for many families to find and adopt a child can often generate more demand than the current supply of available children can sustain. This eventually leads to gaps in supply being filled by non-orphan children who are either stolen, coerced through misinformation, or otherwise manipulated into leaving their families. The dark side of international adoption is one shrouded in mystery and corruption. Vulnerable children all over the world are being victimized on all levels within the process of adoption. Abuse can occur at the hands of adoptive parents, in rehoming families, by private and uncredited agencies, and within local orphanages. Considering that these children are already incredibly vulnerable, they are already impacted by compound discrimination of race, disability, and this systematic abuse is particularly heinous. The United Nations Convention of the Rights of Child fully secures and protects all human rights of children and specifically requires that the system of adoption shall ensure that the best interests of the children shall be paramount in the consideration. Despite all this, there has been failure to protect vulnerable and orphan children due to the fact that the global community, as well as the international community, has accepted a flawed adoption system for far too long. International policy reforms are essential, and much is needed in order to preserve and promote the human rights and dignity of children. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, follow, share, and like our video. It's the best way of supporting us. And remember, Africa is watching.